What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we've got some Destiny 2 news coming in the form of This Week at Bungie. And so they speak about some changes we're going to be seeing to vendors inside of Season 14. They give us some extra details about Ada-1, who is of course returning alongside the armor transmog style system. But also they speak about some changes that they have planned for a couple of perks, and that will include Bottomless Grief and Celerity, as well as adjustments to Nightfall and Trials weapons. So we'll speak about that, as well as an upcoming developer deep dive stream, and then we have a new game update that we got in the game today. So we'll round it all up in the video guys, and if you do enjoy this one, a rating down below very much helps us out. But now let's get into it. So first up, before we talk about Bungie's weekly update, we did get a hotfix in the game today, and this is hotfix 3112. So in terms of the changes, for the Proving Ground strike, they say they fixed a problem where players could get out of bounds during the boss fight, and players must now take the right of proving from an even playing field. And so essentially they fixed the cheese, which was pretty beneficial for running Grandmasters and things like that. Although it's not entirely surprising that Bungie have fixed it. For the Crucible though, they fixed a problem where heavy ammo spawned under the Distant Shore map in some game modes, but also fixed a problem impacting the glyph puzzles for Xenophage, where the hive glyphs weren't correctly reacting and responding when shot with semi-auto, burst, automatic, or energy weapon variants. But they also fixed the Insight Terminus Nightfall Triumph, and an issue where Guardian Games ghosts were removed from the inventory. So they say alongside the hotfix, players who lost the ghost shell will receive replacements upon login, and if your inventory is full when entering orbit, ghosts will be forwarded to the postmaster. So it's good that Bungie have fixed that one, and as always I'll link the patch notes down in the description box below. Up next though, let's speak about the TWAB, and Bungie initially speak about some vendor changes. So they say with the return of Ada-1 to the tower in Season 14, we're introducing some small quality of life upgrades to a couple of our tower vendors. First, in addition to being the primary vendor associated with the upcoming transmog system, also known as armor synthesis, Ada-1 will become the vendor who delivers a variety of armor focused items and upgrades. So each day, Ada-1 will now sell one randomly chosen armor mod from the general and armor slot groups, and then one randomly chosen combat style mod, which will be chosen from the Charged with Light and Warmind cell mod groups, which should make it easier for players who missed these in the past to get some hands on some of the armor mods from Year 3. So that'll be pretty cool, but they say, additionally, on a weekly basis, Ada-1 will sell one armor set randomly chosen from the World Loot pool, with a stat roll that also changes on a weekly basis. And finally, she'll also sell armor upgrade materials, and that will include upgrade modules, enhancement prisms and shards, in the same way that Banshee 44 does right now. And so they say with Ada-1 taking on armor responsibilities, Banshee 44 is getting a few revisions to his inventory as well, and the gunsmith will no longer sell armor mods, but will retain the rest of the items that he currently sells, which of course will be some other materials and the weapon focused stuff. But additionally on a weekly basis, Banshee 44 will sell a selection of 6 weapons, randomly chosen from the weapons in the World Loot pool, and that'll be 2 weapons from each of the kinetic, energy and power slots, with perk rolls on each weapon that are randomly determined at the start of the week. So at each weekly reset when you log in, you can head to the tower and see what the gunsmith is selling, and maybe pick up a weapon you've been looking for with a roll you're excited to use. And so, random rolled vendor weapons are returning in at least some form right there, and overall that should be a pretty good quality of life update to a couple of those vendors. It's not quite on the same level as the massive kind of random rolls vendor resets that we used to see in Destiny 1, but still, it is something the community have been talking about quite a bit since Destiny 2 launched, so considering Banshee is the gunsmith, I think it's definitely a positive thing that is going to be offering more weapons as well as those random rolls. But more specifically, Ada-1 will be bringing all of the new stuff associated with armor synthesis, so give us your thoughts about that down below in the comments section. And next, Bungie talk about feedback on perks like Celerity and Bottomless Grief, with some changes that they're planning. So Weapons feature lead Chris Proctor jumps in and breaks down what they're planning to do, but he says when we launched Trials of Osiris, we made a new origin-specific perk for Trials weapons, Celerity. He says this is a wildly powerful perk with plus 100 aim assist, handling and reload, plus reduced recoil and spread. And he says we intended for this to be great for clutch Last Guardian standing plays in Trials, and when it's active, it is very strong. But we found that the trigger condition that relies on failure generally feels pretty bad. Not only that, but the perk is useless outside of Trials and a couple of other activities. And he says as far as having Celerity and Bottomless Grief as intrinsic perks, which has been suggested by community members, for performance reasons, we have a maximum number of perks that can run on a character at a time. But also adding a new perk column to weapons from a specific source introduces power creep, and pretty soon we'd end up having to do the same to weapons from other sources. And then adding a new perk column to only adept weapons would not work against the third goal of adept weapons, and we believe it would be bad for players dying to adept weapons that are able to stack celerity with things like Outlaw and Rampage. To tackle this in Season 14, they're making the following changes to Trials and Nightfall weapons and their adept versions. So this will only apply to new drops of the weapons and not existing ones. But for Nightfall weapons, Bottomless Grief will grant a permanently active plus 30 to the magazine, but also Bottomless Grief is now a fixed alternate perk in the left column on adept drops of Nightfall weapons. So basically we'll be able to switch between that and a randomly rolled perk in the inspection screen. And then for Trials weapons, Celerity will grant a permanently active plus 20 to both reload and handling, and Celerity is now a fixed alternate perk on the right hand column on adept drops of Trials weapons, so we'll be able to switch between that and the randomly rolled perk in the inspection screen, much like what we'll see with Bottomless Grief. And so that's an interesting way to kind of tackle the problem. They have given those bonuses buffs, but also they will be fully optional bonuses. So I think it's an interesting approach. It could work, and I'll be curious once again to get thoughts from you guys down below. Something to bear in mind for next week though, they say they're planning on giving us a live presentation of the Presage Exotic mission, and they've lined up representatives from several of the teams that work to create the experience. So if you want to witness some of the dev commentary on that, they say they're doing a deep dive stream, and this will be next Wednesday on April 7th at 10 AM PDT on both the Bungie Twitch and YouTube channels. So if you want to tune into that, all of the details and the link are also in the TWAB, which is in the description box below. A quick final mention right here for any players who want to jump into Trials, but be sure to take note of this week's seasonal challenge. As some folks have pointed out, you can get a Trials of Osiris weapon by winning multiple rounds in Trials of Osiris. So especially if you're just going after maybe 3 or 5 wins or something, and with probably an increased population for the weekend because players will be jumping in to get this challenge done, it could actually be a pretty good time to jump in and pick up some Trials loot in general. So it'll be interesting to see how populated that playlist is. And of course, an additional random Trials weapon when you complete that challenge is always a good added bonus. But for today, guys, that's everything we have to round up inside of this video. So let us know your thoughts on any of the stuff we've spoken about down in the comment section below. If you have enjoyed the video, a rating also very much helps us out, and feel free to get subscribed if you want to be kept up to date on the world of Destiny 2. Also, thank you guys so much for all of the support you showed us yesterday on that quick update video I posted. Me and my girlfriend Eve are going to be having a baby in the summer of this year in July, or at least that is when the baby is due, and so the bulk of that video was to just drop that update. Something we're really excited about, and of course there will be a little bit of quiet time for me on the channel during that period of time, but yeah, it was just a quick update, and if you want to check the video out, I will link it in the description box below. But otherwise, once again, thank you all so much for the support. It really does mean a lot. But for now, whatever you get up to, I hope you have an awesome day.